All right, good evening. The time being 7 o'clock on October 4th, 2021. All members of the planning board being present, call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda, approval of minutes. We have none. Moving on to agenda item B, committee reports, administrative actions. Are there any committee reports any of the members wish to make at this time?
All set, Mr. Chairman. All set, Mr. Chairman.
All right, seeing none. Town planners report. I don't believe we had one.
We had the letter.
Just the letter, right? Okay, so
Right.
we'll get to that afterward in letters. All right, so that brings us to agenda item C, 30 East Street. This is continued from our 9/13 meeting. This is 30 East Street site plan special permit for the Town Center Overlay District and Groundwater Protection District. If you could state your names to the record, the floor will be yours.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Dennis Gricci. I'm an engineer with Andover Consultants with an office at 1 East River Place in Methuen. Here tonight on behalf of the applicant, Carolina Properties.
Gerard Welch, Carolina Properties. I'm the builder and the developer of the property.
So the site is located at 30 East Street. It is located in the R40 zoning district. It's also located in the Groundwater Protection Overlay District and the Town Center Overlay District.
Sorry, I don't mean to stop you guys, but I just wanted to make a note for anybody who's wondering. Somewhere in here, and you guys must have a copy of it, that we're going to need a letter just saying that the property owner authorizes you guys to come in under them. We don't have that yet, I guess. Has it been sent in?
I thought we did submit it, but we can
Okay,
get a copy.
I just saw a note in there that said we didn't have it yet, but as long as that's taken care of, then that's fine. Sure, go ahead.
So the project is located in the R40 zoning district, the Groundwater Protection District, and also the Town Center Overlay District. Currently, can I bring this microphone? Is it?
You can get the one
You
up
can take the
there.
one up
No.
at the podium, if you don't mind.
Behind,
Where you are? Just give it a tap, make sure that one's running. There you go. Perfect.
Okay. So I'm going to try to briefly summarize to the board where we started and where we are now. The board remembers we submitted a concept plan. We probably had a virtual meeting in January of this year. It's the first plan here. So again, the concept was a 4-unit residential building with a commercial office space in the rear, which is required in the Town Center Overlay District. At that time, the feedback we got from the board was that the preference would be to have the commercial space in the front of the building, in the front of the lot, and the residential units in the rear. So we got to work on kind of trying to achieve those goals. And we submitted a fully engineered plan showing the 4 residential units in the back, the commercial office space with residential above in the front. We had a departmental review with the town staff, and the main critique we got at that meeting was from the fire safety officer, Lieutenant Sawicki, regarding the fire access road, which is in the Mass Fire Code. So the 2 takeaways from Lieutenant Sawicki were that if a driveway that exceeds 150 feet in length, which this driveway did, would require a turnaround radius for the fire apparatus. Due to the relatively narrow nature of the lot, we couldn't achieve that. Second comment from Lieutenant Sawicki was that the radii onto the site shall be 25 feet in order to accommodate the larger trucks. So we went back to the drawing board, trying to fit, again, the program onto the site, and we revised the plans. These were most recently submitted to the board about a week ago. Again, the 2 major changes you'll see is the shape of the building and also again, accommodating the fire access road. So the driveway has been shortened to 145 feet. Therefore, we're not required to provide the large vehicle turnaround. We've also provided some generous 25-foot turning radiuses from East Street to accommodate the fire truck coming into the building or coming into the site. Again, generally the same concept. We have a 3-unit building in the rear here. We have a 1-unit above with the commercial office space below here in the front. We provided parking on site to meet the zoning requirements. Again, the building itself that's on the site today, it's a historic structure. The applicant had a structural engineer come in and review for the integrity. The structural engineer found that it was not salvageable in its current state. So we had 2 public meetings with the Historical Commission. We had many offline discussions. They sent a letter to the board in, I believe it was July, stating their unanimous support of the project. As part of their approval, the applicant has worked with the commission to, one, make sure the historic period of the building that's being taken down is matched in the proposed. So you see the architecture here on the right side of the plan. This would be the rear unit. What's shown here is that's the parking garage here. What you can't see is, again, the two parking garages for the front units, which will be here. This would be the commercial space in the front with the residential above. Again, the window treatments, the gambrel roofs, these are all things that the Historical Commission wanted incorporated into the proposed elevations of the building. So those are done. There'll also be some historic structural members, some hand-hewn beams that will be taken out of the historic building and incorporated into the layout of the new buildings. Again, this is the grading and utility sheet. The grading shown on the left, the utilities on the right. The buildings will both be serviced by town water and town sewer. The stormwater will be detained on site with the chambered system below ground allowed to infiltrate. Again, this is all required in the town center overlay district as part of the process. We have, again, the applicant here, and I'm here to answer any of the questions the board may have. But that's generally the summary of the project.
All right. Start, Mr. Fowler.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, you kind of bounced this around a bit. And I say that it appeared half a month ago, that your biggest concern was getting the fire department on base. And talking to the staff, they said that you were coming in and that was going to be all settled. Well, obviously it didn't, because there's no plan for it, because you reduced the length of the road. Right. Is there a manner in which a vehicle can get out of there without backing out?
We are working with, the applicant's working with the traffic engineer to get some auto-turn simulations of vehicles entering and exiting the site. So when those are completed, hopefully within the next week, we can provide that to the board. That'll be the residential vehicles, so your standard SUV, and also the fire apparatus vehicle as well.
All right. It won't be next week, by the way. Then our next meeting is the 25th.
Well, I'm saying hopefully we'll be able to have them submitted to the department in the next week or so.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right. I like the style, the looks of it. Nice letter from the historical committee, saving some of the woodwork inside in the old house. Most people don't realize how old that house is. Was it 17 something?
Yes, 1776, I think it was?
1786.
No, 1786.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, and even when you drive down the street, if you drove by the day it was torn down and then came back 3 months later, you would think it was the same building. Just set up nice, a lot prettier. And, the colonial design, and so that fits very well. As long as the fire department is all set with the turnaround, the non-turnaround, although what's in the front of that building? Is that
Parking spot.
the front of the building down below?
There are parking spaces provided on both sides of the drive out for the commercial space in the front.
Okay, I'm looking at that plan down there.
Down here.
Yeah.
So these parking spaces here, we actually reconfigured this after this graphic was
Okay.
prepared, but
So it wouldn't be an area to turn?
for a vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah, the vehicles themselves would have to turn around further up in the drive aisle as they come
Okay.
out.
So other than the spaces in the front and the spaces between the two buildings, is there an area where someone could turn in and make a 90-degree turn?
We have So the drive aisle itself in front of the building is 26 feet wide, which the typical drive aisle is 24 feet. So we were giving them an extra 2 feet to back out of the garage space or the parking stall itself.
Yeah.
Similar to, so a grocery store would have a 24-foot wide drive aisle. You're backing out of that space and you're able to pull forward into the lane of travel you want to be going in.
All right, I'm all set for now. I might have some questions afterwards.
Mr. Fratelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of questions as well. Looking at the plans, you have the garage for the last unit straight ahead, correct? You drive into it? So in order for somebody to back out of that, they have to back down 2 garage spaces, right, backwards? And then make a U-turn, make a turn into the parking if it's there, right? If it's open, right?
The thought would be that front-facing garage that you're referencing, the car would back out of it into the 26-foot wide drive aisle and be able to maneuver and make that turn out of the facility facing forward.
So turn around as you come out, turn and go around?
Right, so exiting, pulling out of the garage, and then turning around.
Does that bring into consideration when there's snow out there and all that stuff? I'm just concerned about somebody having to back. If they can't or not comfortable doing that turn, they've got to back up pretty far, substantially, in order to turn around to get out of their parking space.
Yeah, so the snow, we do have some snow storage shown on the plans. It is a relatively small site. It's just over 13,000 square feet. We have in the past conditioned that snow be removed if it becomes an issue on these smaller, tighter sites in some of these downtown overlay districts.
I'm just saying, if someone's parking in that spot and they're not comfortable doing a turn like you say, they're going to have to back up pretty far in order, I mean, providing there's spaces on the left side that no one's using, they can back into. But if those are occupied, then what are their options? And they have to make that turn, or else back all the way out of the driveway for the most part.
Yeah, the first space where they could back into where we know a car won't be parked or should not be parked, it would be the striped accessible aisle for the handicap accessible parking.
I got you.
So that would be an opportunity for them to momentarily back into that spot and pull out.
So, looking at the plans, the garages, are they expected to hold 2 vehicles or just one?
One vehicle.
One vehicle. Okay, so my problem is that last building. If someone's parking in the garage and someone's parking outside of the garage,
They don't get
is
out.
that going to propose a problem there? You know what I'm saying?
So no one should be parking here. Is this where the area of concern is?
Yes.
So this area is just a drive aisle. There's no parking here. And I'm going to hand out a.
Do you have that blueprint? Do you have that print? He's got.
So the parking spaces themselves, there's 4 spaces provided here.
Okay.
There's 2 here, and there's 1 here. This is just a drive aisle. There should be no
Okay,
parking.
so no parking here at all?
There should be no parking there. We can sign that, no parking instructed and such.
Okay.
That will also have to be kept clear for the fire access as well.
Okay.
And if I may, just, so, these are the floor plans as well as that colorized site plan, which is slightly outdated, but the buildings are still in there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And these are all 2-bedroom units, correct?
Yes.
2-bedroom?
Correct, yes, 2 bedrooms.
So probably 2 cars per unit, correct?
Except for the one,
Possibly?
the one over the office is only 1 bedroom.
Yeah, the applicant's saying that the office, the residential unit above the office is 1 bedroom, the 3 rear units will be 2 bedrooms each. So, yeah, that, to answer the question about the number of cars, that's, yeah, we're not totally sure. Who the typical occupant may be, but 1 car or 2 cars would be expected.
I'm just proposing, like, say, a potentially 2-bedroom unit, 2 people working and living there, and
Yeah.
or that, for that matter, for all 3 of those units in the back, with 2 vehicles each, because they both are, young adults working somewhere, and now we have 6 cars with minimal parking for the most part, you know?
So we did, the parking requirement is 2 spaces per unit. So we have 4 units, so we have 8 spaces plus the commercial space, we have another 2. So we have 10 spaces provided, so we are meeting the zoning, which would, coincide with that common sense, 2 cars per unit. So we are meeting that requirement.
Okay.
So there'll just be 1 garage space, and then there'll be the surface space for the second vehicle.
I just see people parking wherever they need to, because you're not parking on East Street at all, for the most part, you know, so, I mean, so that's a concern, you know, once it's up and built, and then you have, somebody has a party or something, and then there's multiple cars there, where do they park? Is there any visitor parking allowed there, or is there any visiting parking proposed?
We're not proposing any. We just don't have the square footage to squeeze any more parking spaces onto the site.
Okay. All right, I'll go a little farther and listen to some of my other colleagues here. Where were you with the town engineer comments and questions from him?
So we received comments from the town engineer on Friday afternoon. I spoke to the engineer on, I believe, Thursday. He issued the comments on Friday. We read through them. We don't see any issue with resolving those comments.
But he hasn't officially commented saying he's all set, right?
Correct. He has not given us his all clear letter yet. So we'll be responding to those letters again prior to the next meeting and hope to address all those issues.
Okay. And I have to ask these questions because my colleagues won't. The CBU mailbox is going to be located where on the site?
It's not that we won't ask, we just leave it to you.
Yeah, they forget, because I'm
I'm a retired mailman.
a former letter carrier, so.
Is there a preference?
My father was too.
Well, usually what happens, you'd speak to the postmaster and get his feel for what,
Okay.
you know, and they'll need a space to park their postal vehicle and whatever. I don't know where they would park, but so. So my last question would be, are you aware of the plans, and I brought this up to you guys last time, of the redesign of that town center area?
You did bring that up prior at a virtual meeting. I reached out to Kevin, or the town engineer, and he did provide me with the realignment of the road.
Okay.
I don't think it impacts our frontage very slightly along East Street.
Okay.
But it shouldn't be impacting the site or what we're doing
Just
significantly.
wanted to make you aware that still hasn't been, you know, terminated or whatever. I think it's still in the works, I believe, so, and rather soon, I believe, if I understand correctly. But with that, I'm all set for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ryder.
Thank you. My colleagues asked most of the questions. You know, you did touch on the parking. Still concerns that even if you hash that right section up by Unit 1, that's blocking, if anyone parks there, they're blocking the walkway around to the back of that, would say to the front door of that Unit 1. I'm concerned with that. Even if it's hashed, you know, people are going to have visitors.
Yep.
So, especially during the day, if the commercial units open, you know, those spots up front will be filled as well, and the snow storage on such a tight. Do you know what your percentage of snow storage you have?
We don't, but we can provide I think we have a snow storage calculation we can provide, you know, for compaction. Are you looking for a specific percentage?
Well, I'm just looking at, you know, what your square foot area you have and, you know, what percentage you have. Are you at 50%? Are you at 75% of your required?
Okay.
Because that's going to be a concern of managing snow within the site. And then look to see the town engineer's comments and questions addressed. Other than that, I'm good for now. Thank you.
Mr. Delaney.
Question for the fire department, I guess, has been answered. The big thing is, you've got 24 feet from the edge of, say, from the edge of the building to the back lot. If somebody does park in front, like in unit number 2 there, okay, that's the first time I've seen this print, but you take unit number 2. If somebody should happen to most people are gonna have 2 cars today, most families. I really don't know of one that doesn't. The thing is, you park 1 car in the garage, and if one should be outside, even for a short period of time, you're taking up about 18 feet of space. You know, the parking space is gonna be 18 and a half feet. So you're taking up quite a bit of space, which only gives you, what, 8 feet to get around? Okay, like down, say in Unit 1 on the bottom picture there, where it says Unit 1. The problem I have, I guess, is the way the parking is designed. You know, I don't know how you can get all the cars. You know, plus you've got a commercial space, somebody who's gonna be working in that commercial space, and then somebody's gonna come there to do business. So you end up with two more parking spaces, or 3. My concern is the parking, so we don't start parking the cars out on East Street. And on East Street, in that particular spot, is traffic bound all the time. You know, if a car parks out on that street, nobody gets by. You'll block the traffic completely. The light there that blinks or whatever it does, I mean, the traffic is horrendous there as it is. So the parking spaces that are in here are gonna be gobbled up by just the owners, never mind the commercial space. That's what I'm concerned about. The other question I have was, where are you gonna put the snow? You know, when it snows, where are you gonna put it? And the next thing is your dumpster. Who's picking up the rubbish? Is it gonna be, everybody wheels their rubbish barrels out to the front of the street? Or are they gonna pick it up themselves? Are they gonna have a dumpster that gets picked up weekly? Okay, I don't see a dumpster, unless I'm reading this thing wrong. Okay, I don't see it. So there's still a few questions that have to be answered. I like the looks of the development. I just wish you had more space around it. And normally, I don't know if I'm out of line here, but normally we talk about even sidewalks. I don't see a sidewalk anywhere. For a 3 or 4 person development, I just don't see it. And a lot of times in developments like this, we have a sidewalk goes down one side of it, where people can walk to the front of up to East Street or whatever the case may be. But at this particular time, those are my questions. It seems like the fire department, of course, they can back up a truck, but can a homeowner back up a car? You know, the fire truck guy, he's a professional. You know, he can back up a truck down Route 38. But can the people that are in here do the same? And if one car gets out of line, like say if by Unit 2, if a car parks outside there, you can't do anything. The people can't even get out of their garage, which is, you know, you've got unit number 1, then you have unit, you know, the angle in unit number 2. That's going to be 2 parking spaces, or is that 2 units that are up, and the units are going to be on top of them? So those are my concerns. You're squeezing in an awful lot, but I'd like to see the parking thing straightened out. I hate to repeat myself, but it's been something going through my head. I didn't see this plan, I had the other one, but the parking is a serious thing here. You know, the commercial building is only 300 square feet, so it's not going to be like an action-packed business, obviously. But even then, you know, 1 or 2 cars, you've got a person that's working there, and you've got a car, and I'm repeating myself. I'm all set at this particular point. But those are my questions.
I was checking on something, so I'll apologize if I missed Mr. Delaney asking this, because I know he was going over a lot of the parking, but is there a particular reason why the handicap space is that far away from the commercial space?
We can provide it in any location. That was one of the comments from the town engineer, the location of the handicap, the accessible parking space.
So there's no real reason, it just happened to be where you put it?
No, there's no grading
All right, well,
constraints.
to Mr. Delaney's point about there's no real internal walkways or anything, it would seem like you'd want to get the handicap space as close to the commercial building as possible, because it would be the least amount of space they have to traverse to get to the commercial space, which is what's causing the handicap space to be required anyways. So I would think that you could probably just flip-flop it. I was waiting to hear if there was some particular reason why you could not, but I would think you'd want to bring that. Plus, since those 3 spaces there, I suspect everybody presumes are going to be for the unit's second car, if they have it. Moving those 3 spaces closer to those units causes the opposite thing to happen, which they walk the least amount of distance to get to their own homes. All right, so that's that. In terms of design, I have no problem with the design. I mean, I'm not sure we're going to get, if we just got finished doing Sycamore, something like the way this looks is certainly fits within the town center. So, I don't really have any problems with the design. I doubt anybody does, to be honest with you, because I'm not sure that you're going to get something that looks more like it fits in sort of a town center like we have than what you have. So I'm okay with that. The existing building, how many units were in the existing building? I need to have my memory refreshed.
Well, it was used as a rooming house at one point in time, and they divided up into the rooms, and according to the owners now, the Holdens, there was 5 different people that they divided up into like small rooming house rooms. But I think if you
What was
look,
it designated as?
Excuse me?
What was it designated as?
I think it's designated as a 3-family.
3.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think that is important, because we just had, again, I'll bring up Sycamore. If that's true, I'm going to take your word for it for now, because I don't know. What we're talking about really is a difference of, well, it's 1 unit. How many people that is, it depends, because I don't know how many bedrooms there were in the old one. But so, I think that does matter in terms of density of what you're replacing what was there with. Obviously, it's a building that was going to have to come down from all indications. So something was happening there. Something has to happen there, because the current building can't stay. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate. It was, the original building was very small back in the 1700s, and then they put addition after addition after addition on the back, and the back 3 additions are almost built on the dirt. There's a basement under the main original building, and that's where the hand-hewn beams are, down in the original basement. And then from there on, they seem to just have built, pretty willy-nilly the additions onto the back of the house, which are all pretty much sagging and caving in.
Do you know how many cars were on site? I don't know how long it's been since it hasn't been used, but when it was in use.
Well, there's 2 driveways, 2 curb cuts. There's one on the right side curb cut, and there's one on the left curb cut. And I've been over there a number of times with the structural engineer, and I met the owners over there a few times. So they did park a couple of cars.
Yeah, there's a driveway on both sides.
On driveway on both sides.
And there often were cars parked in front of the house and the driveway off the driveway.
Can you get
They
me a number, though?
They tandem parked. I can ask
The reason I ask is because the same thing with the units. I'd be curious to see what is the car total difference that we're talking, because as Mr. Delaney mentioned, where you're coming out on East Street, it's busy. And I'm just making this up. If there were 8 cars there all the time before, and you might have 8 cars now, well, okay, then I'm not as concerned about what's the difference, what's going on. But if there were 2 cars there before, and now there are 8 cars, now it's much more of a thought process into what's different now from before. So that's why I'd be curious to see how many vehicles were on site in its previous use as compared to its proposed use.
I can certainly ask that question, yeah.
All right, I suppose most of the rest of it, is going to the engineer's question. So obviously, you're going to have to answer all those and see where we are coming out of that. I will note, and we saw it in our package, that there was a question earlier on under the new law passed in the Commonwealth, whether or not this was going to stay a 4/5 or a majority vote. The ruling was that this, because the proponents are not at this point proposing an affordable unit, that we remain at the 4/5 vote, not the 50% vote. It would have been triggered if they were doing an affordable. We would have been down to only need.
But they're not doing an affordable.
Which is why I'm just saying it was in our package when we last met
Right.
many moons ago.
Yep.
That was an outstanding question. We've gotten the town council's ruling on that, so without an affordable component, we're at the 4/5 vote. If it were affordable, then we would have been down to the, majority vote.
Right.
Okay? So if anybody had that memory from way back then at home,
It was
that's the answer to it. All right, other than that, I don't have anything else at this time. Is there anybody in the audience? Yeah, Mr. Fowler.
I'm going to tell you why I was confused. That's how I started this. Which plan, nice colored plan here, and then this plan here, which one are you selling?
The most recent plan, the one year, that packet there, the colorized plan is an older version.
So this doesn't count.
Well, there are architectural plans in there.
I'm sorry?
Floor layout. The floor layout is in that packet. So each unit floor layout. So the building hasn't changed. The dimensions of the buildings, where the units will be. The only difference is we adjusted some of the parking in the front of the site. So after we prepared this colorized graphic, we adjusted the parking in the front to add actually an additional spot. So we were cognizant of the parking being an issue, so we squeezed in another spot there in the front.
My point is, if someone's looking at this and they're counting the numbers on this plan, it's not the same numbers as numbers on this plan.
You are correct.
And you have a turnaround on the other side on this plan. So if no one's looked at this plan, well, after you pass this one out, they're getting the wrong information. Correct?
Yes, you are correct.
All right, can we start again? On the left side, you have a 1 in the parking area in front of the main building. Is that a 1?
So the one with the number with the circle around it is an accounting of the parking spaces. So there's going to be 1 space in that area. There'll be 2 spaces to the left. Working further down, so any of those numbers you see circled, that's not a unit number, which may have been some confusion. That's a parking count.
Because you were talking earlier that you had 10 spaces. And no matter how many times I counted 9, including the garages. Now, maybe you were right, but you weren't, everyone was looking, including me, looking at this plan. So you drive in the driveway, there's 1 parking space on the left, in front of the building, correct? And then you have 4, of which 1 is a handicap. So if you don't have a handicapped person there, you have 1 and 3 is 4. 3 garages is 7.
Two on the right. 2 on the right.
2 on the right is 9. Where's the 10th?
So the parking summary chart in the cover sheet of that packet might be helpful. So we have, again, 6 standard surface spaces. We have 3 standard garage spaces, and we have 1 standard accessible space for a total of 10 spaces. So we do try to break that down for the board on that, in the parking summary chart on the cover, to try to explain what each space is, so.
I'm still confused.
I don't know, I
There's
guess
still
I'm
9.
missing I'm missing
Still
number
9.
10.
There's still 9. If you look at your 1, if you go left to right, or you should go left to the back, you go 1 is in the front of the commercial unit.
Yeah.
Behind the commercial unit, you have 1 space, 2 spaces, 3 spaces, and then the handicap unit, correct?
So are we not counting the handicap
No,
space?
not counting the handicap right now, so you go 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't count the handicap space. 1 in each of the units, that's 7. Come down to the front, go around clockwise around, you go 8, 9. So you only have 9 spaces 10 including the handicap civic space. So you are technically short.
No, they're required.
So you're requiring, but I'm just saying, is he using the 10 in the calculation as his 10th spot?
No,
That
what I'm
was what
saying
was
is,
confusing.
if I'm reading this right, if the calculation's saying they need 9, he has 9, plus in a handicap
And I'm not sure
space.
we can't count the accessible space
I'm
towards our
not, whether you
count.
can or not, what I'm saying
Yeah,
is.
agreed, yeah.
Up above, it's 631. But down below, when they're saying the total required is 9.
So we provide a parking.
So there are
requirement.
9 plus a handicap, so there are 10 total spaces. 9 open to anyone, and 1 handicap restricted, 10 total, but it's saying the parking calc required 9.
Okay.
So they meet the 9. There's just nothing extra, because the handicap's because of the commercial unit. Correct? Am I wrong? Is that right?
No, you're correct. Mr. Chair, in moving your recommendation, moving the handicap up front, which I do like, you're now removing the potential turnaround spot for the 2 of the units backing out. Providing you have a full house, everyone's in there, all units are full, all 3 people are in there now, and they parked in their respective spots up here, it's very difficult. Someone's going to have to back up.
Was the suggestion, Mr. Chairman, to move that accessible parking space to that front number, that front space, or just further down in the row 4?
Well, I mean, my recommendation is that the handicap spot will be at the complete opposite end of those 4 spaces, closest to the commercial, so that if someone has to use the space, they're there because, well, it's
Yeah.
there because of the commercial space.
So
It doesn't mean
we would-
somebody isn't visiting somebody who might need a
So
handicap
we would
space.
still have that striped area for the cars to back into that we kind of discussed earlier. It wouldn't be in front of the commercial building, it would still be within that row 4.
Right, so to what you said earlier, though, in the event someone doesn't, or I think Mr. Vitalia sort of asked it, but your thought process is that if someone backs out of garage 1, right, that they're gonna do a 3-point turn right there in that open space. In the event that they're not someone who's comfortable doing a 3-point turn for whatever reason, someone said that I think it was you that said that they might back up a little further and then temporarily go into the handicap space and leave, assuming the handicap space is empty. Now, as Mr. Ryder just pointed out, if you take my suggestion and move the handicap space to the other end of that 4 spaces, if that person will not do a 3-point turn, that means they're going to back up past the 3 other parking spaces before they get to that empty handicap space, 2/3 of the way up their driveway. Is that an accurate?
That's what I'm concerned. And if at that time there's a car in the handicap spot, if it is in fact a van, I mean, it's going to be very difficult for somebody to back into that spot if moving it down as where it should be next to that commercial spot.
I mean, so
It's gonna
the
be
bottom
tight.
line is if someone will not do a 3-point turn, if all the spaces are taken up, what do they do? Is that, I think that's the answer now we're looking for.
Yeah.
What, if you won't do a 3-point turn, what do you do?
So we had talked about at least earlier on this car, doing a 3-point turn, pulling out. If that does not, if they're not comfortable doing that, they could back out and back down to the striped accessible aisle, which you should never be parked in. If it is, the car should be towed rather quickly. So the other option would be to pull into this striped space and then pull out. I think what the chairman has suggested, which is a good suggestion, is that this becomes the striped area now, and that this becomes the accessible space. So that the unit, this garage unit will still be able to pull into this striped space, which again, should never be occupied by a vehicle. It's always supposed to be, refuge for someone with accessibility issues. So they would still, the same principle would apply, that striped bay would just be moved down 2 spaces.
So for our purposes, if you accept my suggestion, someone theoretically might have to back up a couple of more spaces before they're going to be able to use the striped area as a quick turnaround. so that's what you basically have to wrap your head around. If you're fine with it, if you're not,
Yeah.
that's basically what it comes down to, I guess. Okay. All right.
Can you gain snow storage? Can you, I mean, reducing the snow storage up at closest to the units, but now you're causing blind spots on your two entrance, on the entrance, left and right of the entrance, or exit, whatever you want to look at. It's real tight.
It's like trying to
Including
put
snow
everything
storage.
in a tuna fish can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
If
like,
we were in Florida, it'd be a different spot. But that snow storage is taking up a significant portion of the lot that would give you the turnaround.
All right, so you've got that, but I think to Mr. Fowler's point, too, we need one version of this thing, too. Like, you guys got to condense this all into one thing for us, because it's nice that all the pictures of the house are in this version, but the rest of it we can't use, which means we got to shift over to this other version you gave us to look at what the layout now is. And Mr. Fowler's right, that we want one version that we're working off of that has all the pieces to it for what you're proposing. And also, now that this sort of jogged my memory, what, if any, waivers are you looking for?
We're requesting a waiver for the setback to a residential district. So this would be the rear setback of 50 feet when abutting a residential district. Where, again, we're within the R40 district. This would be our setback to 21.66 feet. The board is allowed to waive that 50-foot requirement.
Okay, so the single one you have listed underneath your zoning summary chart is the only waiver you're looking for?
The waiver from the special permits. We also have a question that the planner pointed out. Our building coverage exceeds the 15% in the underlying zoning district.
Yep.
We're at 18 point, I believe it's 18.2%.
It was 15, or something, it was 15?
15 is required. Give me one moment. So 15 is required, and we are at 18.2% building coverage. I don't believe that's something that the board can waive. We can request it, and I can speak to the planner about how best to resolve that.
Well, if we can't waive it, then you have an issue.
Well, we would request a variance at that point.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Fowler. No, that's fine. We'll get it out of the way now, it's better.
So that you have two opportunities to turn around. If you could, is there a chance that you could put one of the two spaces on the right side driving in over on the left side, as you show on this plan? Not that I want to use this plan, but in that way, you would have one space needed on the other side and a place to turn around with a sign. No parking, turn around area only, or something like that. It's up to you what you want to put there. It's just a suggestion of, would that work?
It may be difficult to get a second space on that left side and accommodate the 25-foot turning radius.
Okay, so this is in the same scale as this?
It's the same scale, but the buildings where in the stamped version that was submitted, we actually moved the building.
Oh, okay.
Again, this was something that we were trying to squeeze in parking spaces, but
Yeah.
we can try to provide some additional, width in the drive aisle or some turnaround areas for vehicles that are leaving the site.
The colored version, for lack of a better word, says the number 4, as does the 4 on the black and white version, correct? Both of them will say 4 spaces. But however, you really have, how wide is that slash space? For a van?
So the striped aisle, that's the,
How wide is
accessible
that?
Same.
It's 8 feet on the plan.
8 feet on the plan. And how wide are the parking spaces?
This parking space are all 9.5 feet.
Okay, so you're missing a foot and a half.
Yeah, well, that's not a parking space, that's right there. Yep.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how we could get the same amount of spaces and have another accessible turnaround area.
We did, when we were working through various concepts, we did have a concept showing a parallel parking space along the right side of the, so parallel parking space somewhere here. We could try to pick up a spot that way, which would allow us to change a spot that we have numbered today into a turnaround area.
Yeah, at best, it could be a visitor space.
But that reduces snow storage. Really, but just looking at the parcel, you're probably at roughly, you're looking at about 45%, 50% of what's required. And now reducing that, you're in the 30s. That's a 2-inch snowstorm that is going to be a problem.
All set. Thank you.
Okay.
I have one more question, Mr. Chairman. if I
Yes,
could.
Mr. Fatale.
So what is the exterior of the building going to be composed of? The exterior of the building is a clapboard?
Yes.
Okay.
We would like to propose hardy board siding, clapboard siding, instead of wood.
Nice choice.
Just for longevity reasons. Yeah.
A little more expensive, but,
More expensive, but maintenance, no
Duration.
maintenance.
okay. No vinyl, right?
No vinyl.
Okay. Okay. That was just my question. Thank you.
All right, so open up to the audience. Anyone with the audience, any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none. Bring it back to the board. Obviously, we got some things still outstanding, so
Make a motion to continue the hearing at 30 East Street as, for discussion, next meeting.
all right, so our next meeting is October 25th. The open spot is 7:15. So continue this to, motion to continue to 7:15 on 10/25. Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, moving on to agenda item D, 1583 Andover Street. First signs on behalf of the Daily Group, signed special permit. Do I have a motion to waive the public reading?
So moved.
A motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
That'd be you.
Once you get settled, if you just state your name for the record, the floor will be yours.
Motion to approve.
Yeah, might as well, right?
You waited.
My name's Drew Serban. I'm the owner of Burr Signs in Westbrook, Maine, and we are here representing the folks, the franchisee of the newly opened Aroma Joe's. Long story short is I wish that the franchisee, when they submitted their original site plan, had put this on there so that we weren't dealing with this now, but here we are. I'll state what I guess what we're trying to do here, but the code requires a sign, a pylon sign of not greater size than 60 square feet. We're providing a 36 square foot sign. A height not greater than 20. We're submitting one that's 14 feet that has clearance of 10 feet underneath, so the sight lines in terms of turning out into traffic and things like that aren't an issue. It's also a very narrow pole wrap, so it's not really not an issue from a sight line standpoint. The issue, of course, is and what we're trying to get some relief from is the setback from the street line, which is 15 feet. Our drawing provided by the franchisee's engineer lists it at 6 feet. It's more than that from the street, but our drawing's our drawing. Our thought process, looking at both Fairfield Inn down the street, Wendy's, the bank that's virtually not quite next door, but down the street a little bit, is that they're all virtually about the same distance from the street. But more important than that is that there's a natural sight line, a natural line of demarcation being the stone wall that's there. This sign is on the other side of that stone wall. It's not on the street side like the Banks is on the street side. So my thought process is that it maybe is even more in line. I understand it's still not outside of the 15 feet, but it's not going to present as much of a sightline encumbrance, given the fact that there's already a natural barrier there. And that's all I have.
All right. We'll start with Mr. Delaney.
He took care of the sight line. The only question I have is, when we approve this, it's 6 feet, and it should be 15. Should that be covered under a waiver? This is a question to the chair. Should that be
Yeah.
put in
That's
the
what,
waiver?
that's what they're going to need in order to do this.
Right.
Okay, that was one of the questions that I had.
Yep.
And you have no problem with the hours, like, what is it, 12? I think it's 12 a.m., 12 p.m. to 6 a.m.?
Yep.
No,
Those are the
they close
hours?
at 10.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
So
about
they're
that
going to
either.
shut the sign off then?
Yeah, they are not a 24-hour. Yep.
Okay. And by moving it on the other side, the coffee shop side of the wall?
Yes, sir.
So to speak, okay, the 10 feet, I don't see a sight line, blocking a sight line going there. So I'm all set with this, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Fratelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we are moving the sign on the other side of the wall, on the driveway side, right? Okay. The plan now was on this side of the wall, right, or not?
Nope, it's always been on the other
Always
side.
been on the other side? Okay,
Yep.
all right.
The wires confused me when they were on the street side.
Got it.
All right, now, I'm looking at the picture, that's 1625, is that the address that it's going to be?
I'm sorry.
Right below the sign is a 1625, is,
We got two addresses.
I think probably those drawings were done before they put shovel one in the ground, and I think that's probably the original address we were given from an original set of
so you'll
drawings.
put 1583
Yes, sir,
there?
100%.
Because right now, I know it's on the building, so, but like we say, we like to have them on the sign, so somebody driving by knows, can see
Absolutely.
the number.
Yep.
So, I like the sign, looks nice.
Thank you.
I had some other questions, but you probably can't answer them, and one of them was parking. How's the parking up there? I mean, I was there today, and I see people parking in the bank parking lot next door and come walking over to get coffee, but, so you wouldn't know anything about that, correct?
I wouldn't, sir.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But I would think that, I mean, I understand they have a cafe there, but the vast majority of people who go to that location are using the drive-through. I mean, that's what they're set up for.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's a pretty busy street, 133. So I'm concerned about the sight lines as well, but I think if you move that back to the other side of the wall, I think we'll be fine. Plus your height is pretty good, so, but with that, I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Mr. Fowler.
I am all set.
Mr. Ryder.
Yeah, the only, I mean, if you look, the bank sign is actually in front of the wall. The Lowell 5 bank sign's actually in front of the wall that runs along that parcel. I don't know if the wall itself runs at an angle towards the coffee shop in question, but I don't have a problem. It's meeting, staying behind that stone wall per the plans and meeting all the other requirements.
So I pulled a Mr. Fratelli today. I went there. And I sat at the exit for a minute just because I had read this asking about the sightlines. And I have no problem granting the waiver, but I'd like to put the condition in because you said you weren't even sure on how many feet
Yeah.
it really is, as long as we say that it will be on the store side of the wall, regardless of the number of feet.
Correct.
I think that'll take care of it. I don't envision a sightline issue at all. From where I stopped, I could see both ways, knowing the sign would have been just behind me anyways. I don't think it's really affecting anyone else's sign, because the bank sign is not going to be affected by this. The daycare sign, I think, is their own issue in that they need to do a little landscaping, it looks like. I think they've got some overgrowth that's blocking their sign, and it's not landscaping that we are requiring to be in the way of their sign, I'm sure of it. So they need to do a little, maybe trimming, if they want to be able to have their sign shown a little bit better. This is not going to be their problem. Okay, so for those reasons, and not because I thought the coffee was pretty good when I tried it today, I don't really have any problem with this.
This is easy.
So we just have, the hours were all set. Okay, so we're all set with that. So I'll open it up to the audience. Yep.
I just
Mr.
have one
Rattle.
other question. Is this a standard, is this your
Their brand standard?
brand standard? Okay. The reason I ask it is if you look at the Lowell 5, they incorporated somewhat of a stone as part of the stone wall. Is that possible to, or is that from a corporate, on the lower section, to kind of match it as part of that stone wall section?
Almost like a planter.
just a
type.
planter.
I mean, if you're looking, I mean, I can pull up like Lowell 5's.
Like a planter.
They used stone on both sides as the pillars.
Yeah.
Could this, the bottom, say 3.5, 4 feet of it, be stone and then carry the blue above it? Just, I think it would go, what they've done, if you look at the KinderCare, they've done the same thing. They've put stone pillars on both sides of it, just to keep in the same, I think it'll just stand out if it doesn't have something along the stone character into it. Is that possible from a corporate?
Just tell
I
them we
don't-
were hard.
What's that?
Just tell them we were very hard-nosed about it.
I'll tell them. I mean, again, this is a standard. It's at 60 units throughout the Northeast.
Sure.
There are some that are in places like Kennebunkport and other places where they have very strict rules,
Yeah.
and that are like Bath. Theirs is kind of a different version. So
I've seen the one in
Been there.
Westbrook. Is it Westbrook? You have to, I've seen a couple of them up there up in Maine, and I did see one that had a different base.
Yep.
So,
Oh, there's some that are just a monument. Yeah, they have them that are low.
so I think if the bottom, whatever the height of the wall is, kind of match that as they did on those two other signs, I think it would be much more pleasing to the eye. It wouldn't stand out being this blue pillar coming down the street.
So how about, may I make a suggestion, since this sounds like what we'd like?
Sure.
That unless they can come back and give us a good reason why they can't, that it's going to be put in,
Okay.
that we want that?
Sure. And I didn't have time, but I was gonna reach out, obviously Anna wasn't in, what was done for Lowell 5 and for the daycare? Was that a requirement of the sign, or was that part of the design from
It was
the
their
architect?
design.
And
Okay.
I think it was all because it all came in at once. And that's probably why.
I think if we brought this at the same
Exactly.
time, we would have said we want it to match that stone wall.
Can I just make a suggestion? Listen, every bit of it makes sense, and I get the whole idea of carrying the look through. On the other side of the wall, you're really not going to see it anyway, even if you take it up that high, driving along. Because doesn't that site go like this from the road?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
It does not, but the actually opening is rather wide there at the curb cut.
Well, if you don't want to put a wall there, put 4 shrubs around it.
I just think
I love the landscape idea.
hiding the blue.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm okay, I mean, I just want to hide that blue pillar.
4,
The reason I say it is that I think if it was outside of, if we all said, you know what, yeah, by all means, put it 3 feet from the street,
Yeah,
put it up,
yeah. No.
then by all means, I think it makes sense, like the bank. that
you were
because it
very
comes-
right.
All right.
Sure, I'm okay with that.
Landscape
Something to
city.
disguise that a little bit.
So then I guess the
Bing, bing, bing.
request would be, we would prefer that it be enclosed looking like the wall, but if they can't do that, then it needs to at least have shrubbery put around it.
Right.
To take away at the bottom
Yeah.
section of the sign.
Okay with that.
That works. Okay.
Compromise.
So with that, I'll open it up to the audience. Anyone in the
Don,
audience
did you
with
get
any
all that in
questions,
your-
comments, or concerns? Seeing there are no people in the audience, I suspect there will be none. I will bring it back to the board. Mr.
Yeah,
Vidal,
Mr.
did you
Chairman,
have
I
something?
had a comment, actually, while I was sitting in the parking lot having coffee today. If you guys recall our discussions about allowing a second means of around the drive-through in the event you got into that drive-through line and had to leave. So as I got there today, I see a gentleman in a pickup truck backing out of the driveway. I'm like, why? Why is he backing in? I thought we allowed enough room to get by. So when I was leaving, I did the drive-by, very tight. He had a little bigger truck than I did, but I think he probably could have made it, but maybe wasn't sure he could get in and get out.
He was practicing for 30 East Street.
Yeah. Well, he backed up, back into the driveway and out, but,
Where did he get stuck? Because can't you go into the lot right next door?
Not the back parcel where you order the window, at
The opposite side,
They
yeah.
never told us about the lot next door, when they were parking cars for there. It was supposed to be a drive-through with 3 spaces. I was up there Sunday. They told me that there's no way that the traffic will back up onto 133. I was behind the car that was on 133.
Because there isn't a single Aroma Joe's anywhere that doesn't have traffic
But that
down the
has
street.
nothing to do with the guy that's putting in the sign.
That's
All
true.
right,
And
so
I'll-
before we close this out, just so we're clear, we have nothing, we don't have to do anything with the time. We're going to do one waiver, and that's going to be for the setback. The applicant requested 6 feet, but is unclear on the exact number, so the clarification is the sign will be installed on the inner side of the wall, the rock wall.
Correct.
And no closer than 6 feet.
And no closer than 6 feet, okay. And the other condition will be that, first, the idea would be the bottom section would be made to look like the rock wall. In the event that can't be done, that there will at least be shrubbery installed
Right.
to cover the bottom section of the pole.
Easy peasy.
Yeah,
Is that
like-
accurate for everybody? That sound right?
Yep.
All right.
So, Mr. Chairman, one other question.
Yes.
Have you ever put signs on top of a wall like that? 'Cause I had visions
top
of
of a
that. You know the wall that's there? Rather than putting on the other side of the wall?
You'd break
put it
the
on
wall.
top of the wall? Huh?
You'd break the wall.
Yeah, this side would break the wall. I mean, we're going to be digging a 72-inch deep,
Yeah, don't-
24-inch diameter.
You have to put the
caissons.
sign in. You have to put the sign first and build a wall around
Fine.
it.
Okay, good, thank you.
All right, so then,
Sorry.
what is the pleasure of the board?
You close the hearing.
So we have a motion to close the public hearing in a second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
All those opposed, motion carries. So first to the waiver.
Make a motion to approve the waiver for the sign special permit on the reduction of the no less than 6 feet, but behind the wall to the property side, the owner's side of the wall.
Correct.
With the inclusion of either the rock wall around the wall or
Or
the
a-
shrubbery.
This is just the waiver.
This is the waiver, yeah.
That's just a waiver.
Yep.
All right, so that covers all of it? All right, so with that, do I have a second on the motion?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. As to the site, I'm sorry, it's to the sign special permit itself.
So moved.
All right, so we have a motion made to
Second.
approve the sign special permit. The only condition on that one will be the last one in the letter we received today, which was that the location of the sign needs to be included in an as-built plan that needs to be submitted as per the originally approved site plan special permit.
Right,
Okay? So we
With
have
the
that
correct-
motion
With the correct address.
with the correct address.
right.
Just
Yeah.
want to put that in, because if not, we will have a plan with 16.
And it is 1625.
All right, so we have a motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Good luck, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that brings us to agenda item E, which is 1880 Main Street.
All set, buddy.
You have to ride back to Maine tonight?
Yeah, it's not that far. Hour and 20 minutes.
That's it.
All right.
Have a good one.
You can tell me
Thank you.
all the fun you had here.
I did. Every one of these is a learning process. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item E, that's 1880 Main Street, that was continued from our last meeting. The applicant has requested that this be continued to our 10:25 meeting. They are already penciled in for 7:10, so can I have a motion to continue to 7:10 on October 25th.
So moved.
A motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, motion carries. E. Moving on to old business. Do we have any old business that anybody wishes to discuss? No. All right, any new business?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have a discussion for us. You know, seeing the school being built and underway, and the firehouse being built and underway, I'd like to see if we could get in and take a look at it. I have never been in there since they started it. I don't know, I'm sure it's possible. I know the fire chief has talked to them recently, said it's coming along. They thought it was going to be done in October, but now it looks like it's going to be done after the first of the year. So if we could, just to see the progress, I mean, we spent a lot of time on both of those projects, so I would like to see if we can get in and take a look at it, just for,
You ever had that?
Yes, I will. I mean, I did, I went through Mr. Montori. There is staff at the school, I know, there daily, and they arranged it with no problem
yeah.
for a full
I
tour.
don't know who would do that on our end, whether it be Alex or Steve or somebody, but if we could do that, I'd love to get in for a tour someday, and then in the firehouse as well. You know, I know the football field is supposedly completed, and I heard it's spectacular. I haven't been there,
Mr.
but
Battaglia, you know that I don't think I'll let you use the fire pole, right?
You were waiting for that, were you?
Well, like the third time you said the firehouse,
Only
I'm like,
fireman
I'm not
that
gonna
I
let you
know
use it right now. I'm just fairly confident.
You know, the only fireman I know that's happy about the pole is Danny Small.
none of them have used it, because
He'll
we've
go
never
down
had one.
upside down.
Didn't he retire?
All right, so, that brings us to correspondence. The only thing I pushed it from earlier, is that the letter we received regarding what was brought up last meeting about a site off of Upper South Street would be the best way to put it?
The Andover side.
Andover end of South Street?
The end.
Yeah, but I don't even like saying that word.
Yeah.
I told you, it's the town that should not be named.
The northernmost
There you go.
point within Tewksbury bounds.
So the resolution of that was the building inspectors from Tewksbury and Andover went and basically requested that cease to be used as an unapproved contractor's lot. So was what Mr. Ryder brought up last time. That is the resolution. So nice to see such quick action.
I did, and I did speak with the individual that reached out to me, and he was thankful to the board.
Excellent. Well, and we appreciate the quick action by the building inspectors
Yes.
from their respective towns as well.
Absolutely.
All right, that brings us to a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
I have a motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Good evening, we'll see you next time.
25th.